Good morning, Gate City Rotary. How's everybody doing today? All right. Can I have your attention? Did Tony contact anybody about doing invitation and pledge?
I got it.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Father, thank you this morning for the privilege and the freedom to gather as Rotarians and fellowship. God, we thank you for our desire to serve and to put service above ourselves, and we just pray that we always have that desire as Rotarians. And we thank you for your power and ability to heal those who are hurting, God, physically and emotionally. In other ways, God, we know that you are able and willing to come alongside us in our hurts, for those of us perhaps in this room, or family members or friends. And we just pray that you'll bless this food to our bodies, give us strength as we journey through this day as Rotarians. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Stand with me, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Frank, you have the floor.
We have 45 members this morning. We have 2 guests, Julie Longmire DeGray and Doug DeGray from Summit Rotary Club. Introduce the speaker.
Great. There's a couple other guests. I don't know.
No, I missed it too.
All right.
Second time doesn't count, right?
That's okay. Gail, would you like to say anything real quick? This is my first meeting.
About Kurt.
Yep.
Be nice, or just
Well, I think Kurt would make a great Rotarian. We go way back. I have not seen him in a long time, actually personally, but our girls played soccer together for years. So we go way back. I think it would be an honor to have you in our club. Yeah.
Martin, would you like to do your birthday anniversary?
Yes, sir. We got some birthdays and anniversaries. We got one. I guess some are out celebrating so much they couldn't make it back. But we do have a birthday. Mr. Blake Hunt had a birthday, I believe, yesterday. We'll put you on the spot for how many, but I hope you have a great day. All right. Happy birthday, Blake. And Danny? All right. Danny last week was our first of our value-added service to our members wedding anniversary heads up. So you got the heads up. Please don't tell me you forgot.
No, we had a nice anniversary dinner last night.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, you can thank Gate City Rotary for reminding you and making sure you treated everybody there. And Mark Cottrell had a birthday day, but he is not here. So you guys see Mark, wish him happy birthday. That's it, Mr. President.
I think I saw a picture of Mark relaxing on the beach in the Caribbean.
Well, he's okay then. We don't have to worry about it.
He's probably okay. Somebody's taking care of him. Gigi.
Yes,
Gigi.
thank you. Thank you all. I'm going to make it fast. I have for 5 minutes. If you guys mind. Good morning, Gate City. Good morning. I have mentioned last week I've been volunteered to promote some events. 3 of them in particular. First, the district conference in April. Then we're going to have the Kentucky Derby party, which is our annual fundraiser in May. And finally, in June, we're going to have Rotary International. But today I'm concentrating on the district conference. Chris Justice is the DGE, is that correct? And for nominee, is that correct? So anyway, so we're promoting this event, and Gate City has all the other clubs as well. They've been asked to come up with a door prize. So I'm going to ask you to contribute today to the Gate City Dog Prize for the district conference. Now, I'm not going to compete with Happy Dollars, so I'm going to ask you to give $5 as opposed to the 1. But since I'm asking you for something, I'm going to share something with you. And some of you in the past told me they love my American stories. So I'm going to share today with you one of my American stories. And today I'm going to talk about a different story. So I talked about great experience I had, right? Lancaster, Pennsylvania, New York City, you guys know that. But today I'm going to tell you about someone who ruffled my feathers. Now it was 1998. 1998, right here.
We've let it go now. It's all over that, right?
I was working for a jewelry company. And one of the clients of the jewelry company was a club called the Daughters of the American Revolution. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. It's a very elite club, and they honor folks whose ancestors fought the American War with Britain, the Revolution in 1776. So anyway, one of the clients was there, and they were designing a special pin for the group. So they sent one of their representatives to talk to my boss, who was the president of the company, about the design. And she got there, was a lady from Delaware. Anybody from Delaware? Okay, so let me explain to you Delaware. Delaware is this minuscule state, a speck on the map of the United States. When this lady from Delaware came to the office, my boss was on a conference call, and he said to me, go talk to her, make small talk. She is a pill. I wasn't sure what a pill was. I said, I'll make the small talk. So this lady from Delaware was sitting like this in the lobby. And I came, I said, hi, how are you doing? I said, tell me about your organization, the Daughter of the American Revolution. That sounds great. And she looked at me and she said, judging by your accent, you would not qualify for membership. Oh. Delaware. And I said, please, tell me about the criteria for membership. And she said, you have to demonstrate that one of your ancestors fought in the American Revolution. I said, well, is that all? Well, you will be happy to know that the accent that you so kindly noticed is a French accent. And one of my ancestors just happens to be General Lafayette. Contribution, guys, I'm going to come around for the story, the district conference. Please be generous. And this young lady over there, she's going to come and collect with me. And I understand you guys do not have cash. It's okay if you don't have cash. We will take a business card and collect it all. So let's start over here. You can continue walk. I'm just going to walk. Hello, Daddy.
That was great. Also, if anybody has any really good company swag, really good company swag that they would like to give away for this time of door prize, that's okay too. Okay? I also have. Okay, I learned a lesson today. I'm never calling on Gigi until the end of the meeting.
Are we done, Walt? Was that it?
That's pretty much it, guys. See y'all next week. I actually have a very short DAR story, or Daughters of the American Revolution. When I was in high school, I was nominated for a DAR award. They told me I had to be at the award ceremony and so forth, so on, all that kind of stuff. And so I went, and actually I think I had to submit papers, I don't know. But I showed up, and I was standing on stage with, oh gosh, what was the kid's name? Anyway, he and I were we were the finalists, and of course I lost. So I stood up there and was humiliated. The guy that did not win, wasn't quite good enough. But the good news is he did a 5-9 in high school later on. Today is also a really big day after work today. The cards cornhole tournament is tonight at Gibbs Brewery. Anybody else sign up? I am actually tossing bags in the cornhole tournament tonight at 5:30 at Gibbs. Anybody who would like to come and laugh at me throwing cornhole bags, come on out and donate the cart. They're the blue buckets that are on our tables that are sometimes off neglected. It's really a good idea to toss a few bucks in there. You never know that research that they're doing may help you guys out. Some of you may help you out right away. I've got a kind bar. Guy, would you toss me the kind bar? This is for anybody that's got cooler socks on than I've got this morning. And
I got flying pigs. Help me out here.
I got weird Waldo socks.
Whoa.
I like flying pigs. Flying pigs. Let's see.
What, flying
I got
pigs?
flying pigs.
Flying pigs.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Animals do well.
Flying rats. Yeah,
I'm not in.
That's it?
Walt, what do you have on?
I got Where's Waldo?
Baskin Robbins. Mike's got Baskin Robbins over here. He's not showing, but he's not showing it. You're missing the ground.
It's like an acrobat.
Nobody's gonna top Ralph from last time, but that's pretty good. I like the pigs.
Pigs wheels.
Excellent. All right, let's see. What else have we got besides $50? Any other announcements from the floor? We've actually got a
Wait, what won that contest? The most unusual socks?
Yeah.
I might be the winner. I saw about 19 pant legs go up and all kinds of weird looking stuff, and they said, I don't qualify. And I think in this club, I might have the most unusual socks because they actually match my pants and shoes. So if we're looking for unusual, I saw pant legs go up and all kinds of weird stuff, and they thought, well, that's not enough. I can't qualify for unusual. Now, this is unusual in this club. I'm just saying.
Good job.
Okay. Billy, you're in the house today. Next service project? Billy? Billy's not here. Okay. Back in on that. Buster, you got some $50?
$50, baby.
Oh my God. I'm going to tell that story 100 times. $50.
First and second.
Oh, I'll get one. Yeah. Somebody, are there any Virginia Tech fans in the crowd? Okay. Lisa and I were chatting. I was speaking about how people get paid and stuff. And I was reading something or watching something on TV, and they were talking about how kids don't take cash anymore. Maybe it was a newspaper. They all take Venmo. I don't know if it's a PayPal product or what, but anyway, we were talking about Venmo and babysitters. That's how they take money. They refuse cash. Some lawn mowing kid was refusing cash from his daddy. He's like, no, just put it on Venmo. So now, be prepared if you're unaware of this, that now we're going to be paying our kids or our young people in a different mode, which it's just the way it is. I just think everybody ought to be prepared. Lisa gave me an education on it this morning.
Okay. Rosa Victoria update. I'm going to give a shout out to Victoria just because she's so tolerant, because it is so about Rosa right now with college. We've knocked down from 14 to, I think we're down to 6 schools. So we're like, almost maybe kind of sort of have a clue, but not really. And then a shout out to Rosa for being a part of the Big Hairball, which is this Saturday. If you saw the email, I appreciate your vote and support for her. She's worked hard to earn the privilege and honor to support such an amazing group. And please, everybody say a prayer for Kelly because he's hosting it. And it is going to be amazing, I'm sure, but thank you.
So is there a way to contribute?
Oh, yes, so I sent out an email.
Yeah.
If you saw that, if you just, and I'll send out another one actually, thank you. And you can just click on to that and you'll see her name on there and it just goes into people's vote. Or it will, the smallest vote is $10, just so you know it's not free, but nothing is, right? So, but anyway. Thank you very much.
First one, as y'all know, I have a son in a very prominent Northeastern, very liberal grad school, and he said in times past, his hardest job is keeping his mouth shut. So I get this text at 8:16 yesterday evening, was asked to find one quote from Donald Trump that shows procedural justice, and another quote from him that shows substantive justice for my economics class. Not law, economics. And I'm like, good luck, buddy. And then we conversed, and I gave him a couple of examples. The other dollar is I got to be in Tucson, Arizona next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for a business meeting. We do this every year. All the retirement plan advisors at Raymond James meet and whatnot. And I thought, you know, what a great time to drive that new car out west. And so when I announced to my wife I was doing that, I also mentioned that I asked her if she'd like to go. She said, hell no. It's only 2,000 miles. I said, well, Van Morrison is in Las Vegas next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if you'll ride with me, it's only 350 miles, about 2 hours, the way I drive, up to Las Vegas. And I have a room and 2 tickets. The lower orchestra center, 8 rows up. Would you like to go? Oh. Yeah, everybody. So anybody want to ride with you? You won't be renting the car for all the rest of the ladies.
So I ran into an old friend Sunday watching the football game that works at the Center for Creative Leadership. He runs their food services. And we mentioned Gigi, and he just said, oh, I love her. She's so, you know, she's so nice. And she came up and we got to meet, and he said, you know, it's really cool when a really big shot, like she is, would come up and just be that friendly and nice. And that really made me happy.
You were close. So I've heard lots of people talk about their kids doing swim team. And my kids have never done it, so I didn't really know much about it. And about 2 months ago, my oldest child, which came and spoke to you guys, he's turned it, you know, he's kind of blossomed into a little bit of a leader and a pretty good athlete. He decided he wanted to do swim team. And I'm like, huh? For his high school. So he joined the swim team and he started swimming. First thing you know, he wins a meet.
All right.
50 meter freestyle. Wow. Last night they had the championship for he came in 3rd place in 50, 3rd place in 100, and 3rd place. So he got 3 ribbons. He's never going to go to college, but he's just a natural athlete. Turns out he's a really good swimmer. Well, this is a happy time because I got a couple. My first is Tom Phoenix.
Tom Phoenix, right here.
Here you are. It's Tom Phoenix and his CPL architectural firm who assisted us in a really tough project at Grandover. We were tasked with shutting down our kitchen, Di Valletta, on January the 1st in the afternoon, literally, as the last person got up for brunch on New Year's Day. We shut it down and gave him 20 days to design a complete redo of our whole kitchen, which was a gut, where we took everything out, took it out, and put it back. And he had to design a brand new kitchen and facade to do it. And it was just an amazing, his team, how they did that. We opened 3 days early. So we opened 2 days ago and opened up for breakfast, almost flawless, and his team and our construction team. So just a hats off to an amazing project. It was not easy. My second is, I was just going to shout out to Rosa and all the 50 hairball models that'll be with us tomorrow night. Secondly, I would encourage you all to go out this weekend, if you can, to see the U.S. Figure Skate. It is an amazing event. We were lucky to have it in Greensboro. It's the third time. We're only one other city that's ever been selected to host that event 3 times in a row. So we hope that we'll get you and your families out there to see it. So thanks.
Good deal. Good deal. All right.
Good morning. Last week I believe I stole too much time, so now I'm going to start paying back. Kurt Storm with Mesa. We are a business and home concierge. I'm also the executive director for Dream Chasers. We are a nonprofit. Started about 8 years in Charlotte, and we're going into the 80 or so elementary schools serving boys and girls in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for activity-based character development. Now, although Gail and I share a soccer field years and years, as many have shared with me, sports have been important. This is a non-sport specific activity. So last year we went down to Charlotte, and one of the things that I saw that stood out to me was all the boys and girls had one young man who was actually missing a leg, and he was in a tricycle, and he could hold this on, but he had one leg, so, and they're young. Okay, so it's a small, and his team, and the idea is to bring the kids together to do things in a team environment. Passionate team and great. So as they're going through this obstacle course, up and down, up and around, they were coming around to a rope crawl. And I saw them all about 20 feet back getting prepared to help him come through. And these are 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And some are big kids, some are little kids. One of them goes underneath backwards. And I'm going, what's going on here? So then another one puts the boy at the end and takes his tricycle away and gets behind him. So I'm going, wow, this is really cool. And I'm trying to remember that these are 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders because I'm thinking most adults would just say, this isn't worth it. So the boy underneath pulls him forward, and the one comes up from behind. And they keep doing this about 30 feet under this rope climb. And when they got to the other end, they put the boy back on his tricycle. Now there were about 1,000 people in the stadium, and this was in Charlotte. And as soon as the boy got back on his tricycle, and this was the only noise all day, and this was the end of the Dream Chaser Challenge, everyone in the stand started clapping, stood up, all got up to the border of the fence, and it just told me I need to get involved with this. Now I've known Stephen Vaughn for about 8 years. When he started this in Charlotte, he's in about 15 cities now. So part of our partnership now is to help the elementary schools in the area. So I'm going to do a little bit of reach out. If you know any of the principals and teachers in any of our private or public elementary schools, we are developing the Dream Chaser program here. And I'd love to have introductions to anyone in those schools. And anyone who wants to get their high visibility for their business, please give me your business card. We'd love to have you at the Dream Chaser Challenge, which will be May 16th at Western Guilford High School. And we'd love to have everyone here as much as possible get involved. I'm a high visibility type promoter, so let's just say if your business wants more customers, we can get in front of people. We'll do that a whole lot. So
More dollars.
more dollars.
Get your wallet out.
Well, Gigi, your story. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
You guys may have seen my email yesterday. I'm part of the Future Fund class for 2020. I'm excited about that, but really nervous about that. I think I need Gigi to be my coach. If you're not familiar with it, it's a Shark Tank type experience. They're expecting a crowd of about 800 on April 21st at Carolina Theater, and I would love to have some friends in the audience to support me. I'll be going against 9 other nonprofits, all very worthy, and I've got 3 minutes to pitch community housing solutions, and you guys have been a big part of what we do. So mark your calendars and plan to be there if you can.
You should send an email out. Who's been to this before? It is phenomenal. It will bring you to volunteers, what people are doing in the community. So send something out about that, yeah. Gigi, your story reminded me, Grandpappy was talking to this fella, and the fella was just real pompous, and he said, my great-great-grandfather fought in the Revolutionary War. My great-grandfather fought in the Civil War. My grandfather fought in the World War II. My father fought in Vietnam. And Grandpa said, your people just couldn't get along with anybody.
Kelly, thanks for bringing up a great point. Rotary started as a lot of business owners and business leaders in the community and wanted to interact and internet with each other. When you've got a job for your business to do, think about other Rotarians. Think about people within our club and connections that you already have. It's good to kind of keep business local, but even micro-local within our club if you can. If you have some business, throw it Rotarians' way. Jim, I'm going to introduce our guest.
Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm glad to see a big crowd here because we've got a very interesting speaker today. Amanda Carter is the head of the school for Noble Academy, a school serving students with learning differences and ADHD. Prior to becoming head of school, Amanda served for 3 years in the role of high school dean of students. Prior to Noble Academy, she worked at the Lawrence School in Ohio, which has a similar focus as Noble, which you'll hear all about, as the dean of campus life. In her free time, she enjoys being, and this is interesting, a nationally rated competitive gymnastics judge. Isn't that cool? Amanda earned a bachelor's degree in public administration from Miami University, as well as a master's in nonprofit management from Kent State University. And as somebody who is on the current board of trustees for Noble, you will be, I have observed the enthusiasm with which she leads the school. Please welcome Amanda Carter.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
In addition to all of those things that Jim just said, I'm also a daughter of the American Revolution. Just kidding. But I have been a sorority member my entire life, and I'm always fascinated by organizational culture and group behavior, and to be able to walk into somewhere well before I'm usually awake, even with a 4-year-old at my house, to have grown men lifting up their pants. I really feel like I've walked into something I'm not all the way prepared for. So everyone, please bear with me. So Noble Academy, how many of you have heard of Noble Academy? Oh, excellent. So I will give a very brief overview since you know who we are, but I'm going to tell you maybe some things that you don't know, and then I'm going to tell you a few stories about our students and who sits in our school every day. So Noble Academy is a school that serves kids in grades 2 through 12 with learning differences in ADHD. So our kids have dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, central auditory processing disorder, processing speed challenges, executive dysfunction, and ADHD, and then other things too. But to come to our school, you have to have something identified as a learning challenge. And we serve kids with really small classes. Our average class size in our lower school, which is 2 through 6, our elementary school, is 6. 6 to 1 is what our ratio is. And then in our upper school, it's 8 to 1. And in some classes, so you imagine PE with 6 kids is not that fun, right? You can only play so much dodgeball when you're 3-on-3. Those games don't last very long. So our PE classes might be a little bit bigger, but your senior calculus class might only have 3 kids in it. So we kind of range. And we serve our kids through assistive technology. We're incredibly skilled in teaching kids how to read. We are one of the leading providers of what's called Wilson Reading in the country. It's an Orton Gillingham approach to teaching reading. There are 15 partners with Wilson Reading nationwide, and we are one of them. We are one of only 4 or 5 schools that are accredited through Wilson. So we actually have an on-site Wilson trainer who is nationally recognized and pulled all over the country. She goes to Seattle, she goes to Virginia to teach other schools and other teachers how to teach reading. And we're right here in Greensboro. We're the only school in North Carolina. We're the only school in the Southeast that does this. So I always like to tell people in Greensboro, like, we're this jewel that's sitting in the middle of the city that a lot of people might not really understand what we're doing. So our kids are incredibly bright. They have average to above average IQs, but they have failed in some academic setting. They don't learn the way that traditional schools teach. And about 30% of kids don't learn the way that traditional schools teach. Now, we are a tuition-based school. We are a private school, but our students, we try to provide as much financial aid as we can, which I would like to say to all of you, thank you. We did receive a grant from your club, and we are so appreciative. One of my kind of big goals as head of school is to try to make our school as affordable for people who need it. We are not a school of choice. Nobody births their baby and says, oh my gosh, I hope that you go to Noble Academy one day. The way that they would with some other independent school that they're a legacy towards. Often when parents walk in our doors, they're at their lowest moment. They're at a moment where they are realizing that whatever their public school, private school situation is not working for them. So when they come to us, we're really trying to figure out how to make it work. So financial aid, we take all 3 of the state grants, if you're familiar with them, the disability grant, the education savings account, and the opportunity scholarship. We accept all of those. We have about 40–50% of our kids receive some sort of state aid, and about 30% of our kids receive aid from us. Okay, so that's us in a nutshell, but now I want to tell you about our kids. And I'm going to tell you some stories, but the names have been changed because Greensboro is the smallest big town that's ever existed. And I've got some pictures, but none of these pictures correlate with the children. So you may know some of these kids. But these kids all go to our school, and maybe one of them has graduated. But I think it's helpful to see who our kids are because sometimes people have a little bit of a misconception about who we serve. So I'm going to start. Bear with me. I look like I'm probably tech savvy, and I am-ish, but I didn't bring any tech. So I have these. So let me tell you a story about Kate. You can pick which one of these you think is Kate. Kate is in the 3rd grade when she's finally diagnosed with dyslexia. She's in a public school, and her parents have known since she was in kindergarten that something just wasn't quite right. She has an older brother, and they were like, look, Kate's not learning to read the same way that our other son did. And the teachers say, every kid develops differently. You just have to wait a little bit. She'll get it. She's a really bright girl. She's really sweet. She's real quiet in class, like she's fine. And then they get to 3rd grade, and this fantastic teacher says, okay, something's up. Something's up with Kate. And Kate finally gets tested, and she gets diagnosed with dyslexia. And so the school springs into action. She gets her IEP. But to teach Kate in 3rd grade how to read from the very beginning, they have to take her out of her class. So every day, she's going to class, and she's so excited. She's book bag, she's ready, she's got her sweet Wonder Woman lunchbox, and she gets pulled out every day during their literacy time. So she comes back to class, and she's feeling good. I think I'm kind of learning to read. And then she hears about this awesome book that they all read together that she didn't get to read. Or she hears about this really cool writing prompt that they got to write a little story about and share with each other. And now they all know something about each other, and she doesn't know it. And she starts to really feel bad. She feels like, well, why can't I do that? And the kids start to notice that she's not there during that time. So the parents say, this isn't working. We need a new plan. And they end up coming to Noble. And Kate comes into our school, and Kate's going to get literacy instruction with her entire class. Nobody's different at Noble. So everybody's in the class getting the same specialized instruction. So she's able to sit in there and have the same experience as her classmates, the same experience as the kids across the hall. And they're all kind of in it together. Now, I can fast forward this story because Kate's not in 3rd grade anymore. Kate's a senior. And Kate has learned to read. Is Kate the most proficient and amazing reader? I mean, she's pretty good. But Kate also really, really knows how to use her assistive technology. Kate knows how to find anything that she needs to read electronically, and knows that if she reads it and listens to it at the same time, she's going to have about 80% better retention of that information. Now, Kate's going to college. She's accepted. She went early acceptance. She was accepted. I won't tell you where because it would really give it away. But Kate's going to be a nurse, and she's going to be a damn good one too. So then let me tell you a story about Brian. Brian in the 6th grade was diagnosed with ADHD, and it was not a surprise to anyone. Everyone knew. You could have told Brian in the 3rd grade that he had ADHD, but in 6th grade Brian was diagnosed with ADHD. He was spending his day being incredibly disruptive in class. Brian wanted to walk around. He wanted to jump up and down. He wanted to touch everything and everyone. And I don't know if you've ever met a kid like this. There's quite a few of them. You can come to 3310 Horse Pen and I can introduce you to a few. But Brian in a class of 30 is really tough to control. So the teacher did what teachers do. They put Brian in the hallway. So Brian would spend a good portion of every day in the hallway because he was disruptive and he was difficult. And when you have 29 other kids to manage, that's really tough. So Brian was missing things in class, much like Kate. But Brian was also getting a label. He was getting a stigma. His classmates were like, ooh, I don't want to be friends with Brian. Brian's bad news. And Brian was like, no, I want people to be friends with me. How do I do that? Oh, I'm going to be really funny. And Brian adopted the ultimate class clown persona. So and let's be clear, Brian is very funny. He makes me laugh every day. But when you're in a class that size, it's really hard. And the teacher would call on him for stuff, and he knew the answers. He could make really challenging connections. He understood really complex concepts. He was excellent at math. Excellent at math. Can look at a math problem. Doesn't need to show his work, he'll tell you that. He doesn't need to show his work. He can do all the math in his head. But the teacher would say, okay, class, get out your book, turn to page 20, and by the time Brian figured out what book they were talking about, they were already on page 25. So Brian was kind of perpetually behind. And Brian's parents said, what's the answer here? And the answer is medication. And disclaimer, Noble Academy is not pro or anti-medication. We are pro-child. Whatever is best for kids is what we want. And every kid is different. But Brian was a kid who reacted to medication by totally shutting down. Brian was like a zombie, was the best way his parents could describe him, where he had been so full of life, super athletic, didn't want to do anything. But he wasn't a problem in class anymore. So finally his parents, after 3 years of doing this, his parents said, we can't do this anymore. So he came to us in the 9th grade. And when he came to us, he was still the class clown. And we spent a lot of time trying to say, you belong here. We love you. We care about you. We get you. Simmer down. And he's still pretty entertaining. But Brian, too, like Kate, is heading to college. He's a senior. He plays every sport we have to offer. But his parents finally said, this isn't working. We need a new plan. All right, now, here's an interesting story for you. This is my last story. I think I'm doing okay with that. This is not a kid named Doug, but I'm going to pretend that we're talking about this kid named Doug. Doug was an 11th grader in one of our local public high schools. And Doug was incredibly motivated. Doug was incredibly athletic and desperate to do well. Doug worked so hard, but Doug has a processing speed disorder and executive dysfunction. So Doug would go to school all day and then go home and do 6 or 7 hours worth of homework at night. And had no no ability to kind of move himself forward. He was continuing to fail. He failed the 11th grade. Even with 6 or 7 hours worth of homework at night. Because Doug has a processing speed disorder. And the best way that I can describe a processing speed disorder, and I'm going to try to make a car reference. If my husband was here, he might laugh at me. But having a processing speed disorder, especially if you have a high IQ, is like having a Ferrari engine with a Ford Focus transmission. So the engine can do it, right? It can go really, really fast. It's got a tremendous amount of power in there. But to get it to do that, you're shifting through these gears that aren't designed to support that type of engine. So if you were to take a Ferrari engine with a Ford Focus transmission out for a drive for an extended period of time, it would probably catch on fire, right? Like it would be smoking by the time that you were done with it. And that's what Doug's brain was like at the end of the day. It was like on fire. He would get home and the gears couldn't turn anymore, shift anymore, move anymore. Okay. So he was doing all this homework, but nothing was sticking. And then he had an executive dysfunction disorder, so he'd get to school the next day and have no idea where the homework was. I did it last night, but where is it? Now, here's the difference between Doug and Kate and Brian. Kate and Brian really internalized this and said, there's something wrong with me. Doug, like the true millennial that he is, said, what's wrong with them? I'm working as hard as I possibly can, and I'm a pretty smart kid. But why is it that I'm failing? Why is it that this continues to happen to me? And Doug did the craziest thing that I've ever seen. We've never seen it before. Doug showed up at Noble Academy on a Thursday at 9 a.m. We do open tours, Thursdays from 9 to 11, if you want to come or have someone you want to send my way. And Doug showed up in his big truck and his baseball hat, and walked in and went up to our receptionist and said, I'm here for a tour. And she said, are your parents meeting you? And he said, no, why? Do I need them? And our receptionist was like, I don't know, do you? Can you just decide to go to a tuition-based school all by yourself? So our admissions director comes up, meets Doug. Doug explains what his problem is. I'm doing 7 hours of homework a night, ma'am, and I'm still getting Fs. I understand these concepts, but I can't pass the tests. People don't seem to understand me, and I think there's something wrong with them. I don't think there's something wrong with me. And our admissions director, after she picked her job off the floor, was like, all right, let's take a tour. And he asked really interesting and intelligent questions during this tour. He asked about workload. He asked about pedagogy. He asked about social opportunities. Are there girls here? And we said, sure, there are. He asked about sports. He's an amazing athlete. Has never been able to play high school sports because he's never had the GPA. So Doug fails the 11th grade at public school and enrolls himself. Now, his parents wrote the check. It wasn't him. That would have been truly remarkable. But he did all the work on his own. He looked it up, and then he brought his parents for the second tour. That's not how that normally goes. Usually the parents tour, and then they bring their kid for the second tour. Doug was opposite. And Doug is enrolled, and he's halfway through 11th grade. He is getting fantastic grades. His mom let us know that he has kind of moved past some toxic relationships that he had before, because now he's got a tremendous amount of confidence, because he knows he was right. He knows that there's nothing wrong with him. Processing speed's a little bit slow, struggles to organize himself, but that shouldn't matter. You should be able to learn. You should be able to get an education, even with some of those challenges. So Doug's a fascinating kid and walks around school with his kind of head down, just doing his thing. But I think he's representative of something that we're going to see more and more. We have so many kids, and this is, I'm not unique, Noble Academy is not unique in this. We have so many kids with anxiety, we have so many kids with depression, we have so many kids with self-confidence issues, and I think we're going to start seeing more kids question, is it me or is it the system? Is it me or is it my environment? And kids are starting to get a lot more agency to say, I can make a difference in my environment. I can make a difference in the process. And that's part of what we're all about. We believe that our kids have to have the advocacy skills for themselves. Our kids have to completely understand themselves and who they are as learners and where they're going. So they can walk into college, and 80 to 90% of our kids, depending on the graduating class, go to college. They're going to a 2 or a 4-year college. Some of our kids choose to go straight to the workforce. Some of our kids choose to go into a trade or get a certificate. But we're a college prep high school, and our kids are heading off to some additional education. And they have to walk into that to be able to say, this is who I am. I'm Doug. I have a processing speed disorder. I have executive dysfunction, and this is what I need. I need these things from you. How much would you appreciate it if you had an employee who thought differently? They think outside the box. These kids are disruptors. They're going to be industry disruptors. And they think differently. They can identify answers and problems that you've never even seen. But for them to be able to do the work, they need one little thing. But they have to be able to ask for it. They have to be able to say, hey, if you're going to give me a tremendous amount of reading material, I'd like it electronically. Or hey, if you're going to give me a project, it would be helpful if you checked in with me once a week to make sure that I'm still on track rather than waiting the 3 months until it's due. Or hey, I'm going to have a hard time expressing this piece orally. Can I write that down? None of you are going to say no to that. You're going to be like, this is an amazing employee who knows what they need. And that's what we're in the business of teaching our kids how to do. We want to educate them. We want to teach them how to understand themselves and express that to the world. And we want them to go out there and use these incredible brains that don't work like some other people's brains to make a really, really big difference. So you know some Kates, you know some Brians, you know some Dougs. You probably know some kids at Noble. You probably know some people who work at Noble. But I like to think that we haven't, well, I don't like to think this, I don't think that we have over the years done the best job completely explaining what we do. So I will say, if you have another place that I could explain to people what we do, please let me know. But is it appropriate to take questions? Is that a thing that happens here?
Yes.
Oh no, it's 7:59. I'm not going to take any questions. Does anybody have a question? I don't want to hold anybody up.
I don't have a question, but I birthed one of those children, and my daughter went to what was then
Guilford Day
School for 5 years, and we had a fabulous experience.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely great teachers.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
When you tell people about this meeting, make sure you tell them that we're pulling our pants off. Next week is, the topic is the mega site.
Yeah.
Learning about that should be really interesting. Can you read the last four?
400.
400.
All right.